readers, I'm Jason. This is Chapter and Verse, and this is my first Shaketube 2020 video. And today I'm going to be talking with you guys about Much Ado About Nothing. So before I get into a couple of things that I want to talk about with respect to the play, I thought I would just kind of give you in a nutshell my history with the play. As an undergraduate, I took a couple of different Shakespeare courses. What was it? It was like Histories and Comedies, I think, was one, and Tragedies and Romances was the other. And in the Histories and Comedies class, we read Much Ado About Nothing. But I didn't. I read probably the first act, and then I was just kind of banking on my knowledge of and my experience with the Kenneth Branagh film, which I saw in the theater, by the way, when it was first released. I think it was in 1993. I saw that in the cinema. And it didn't serve me as well as reading the play probably would have, as far as my quiz grades and such were concerned. So this was my first time reading it in its entirety. But it was interesting, right? Because I felt like, because I've seen the Branagh film so many times, and the Joss Whedon film I haven't seen yet, but Kelly and I are planning to watch it soon. But I also saw a production of this when I was an undergraduate that was staged by the university theater department. And then I saw a production of it, two different performances in a single production of it at the Globe in London in 2004. And in that production, all of the roles were played by women, which was kind of cool, and I love the whole gender bendy thing, but it was wonderful. Hence my seeing it a second time. You'll see here a photo that I did not take, right? It's a panoramic photo. And they were selling these in the gift shop there at the Globe. A photo of the production that I saw. And during both performances of this production that I saw, I was right up at the stage, right? I was a groundling, and I was right up at the stage, literally with my arms and my elbows on the stage. And I think it was the first time I saw the play, which was the best of the two performances. There was a bench right in front of me on the stage. And at one point, I don't remember what speech it was or what have you, but the actress who was playing Benedict, she was standing on that bench right in front of me. And I'm looking up at her, you know, I mean, she's larger than life, literally right in front of me. And she's delivering this speech to the crowd. And then right at the end of it, she looks down and looked right into my eyes and finished the speech to me, essentially, and gave me a wink. And it was just wonderful. It was that, probably more than anything else, was the reason why I went and saw the play again. Not because I was expecting that to happen again, but because that was magic, you know. It was really magical. So before I get into the sexual subtext of the play, which is rich, and a couple of other things that I want to talk about. First, I wanted to just kind of chat with you guys a little bit about some of my favorite lines in the play. Lines that were really, really beautiful, or really powerful, just really, really strong. And my favorite line or passage in the play is from Beatrice. And it is in Act 2, Scene 1. And she is talking with Don Pedro. And Don Pedro says, "Your silence most offends me, and to be merry best becomes you. For out of question you are born in a merry hour." And then Beatrice says, and this is just so beautiful. "No, sure, my lord, my mother cried. But then there was a star danced, and under that was I born." In my edition, which is a Penguin edition, there's a little footnote about it, right? I mean, it's something to do with astrology or what have you. And in the Arden edition, which Kelly read, there was a more extensive footnote. It was kind of explaining what Beatrice was talking about. And this is one of those moments in Shakespeare where I feel like the explanations, the footnotes, the kind of academic egg-headedness of the whole thing really is wrong-footed, right? I mean, that is a line that we shouldn't be seeking to explain in any kind of logical way with respect to a calendar or, you know, astronomy or what have you. When she says, but then there was a star danced, and under that was I born. That's poetry, right? Yes, I mean, there are scientific and calendrical, I'm not even sure if that's a word, underpinnings to it, but those things don't matter. It's beautiful, right? It's absolute poetry, and that's my favorite line in the whole play. But there are a few others here. So in Act 4, Scene 1, and this is the scene in which Claudio is spurning Hero at the altar, looking to ruin her reputation and essentially destroy her life. Claudio is an asshole. I will get to that in greater detail later in the video. But yeah, so Hero's father, right, Leonardo, is taken in by Claudio's accusations of Hero, by his slandering of her. And I just thought this was really, really just a bit of wonderful writing. Why she is fallen into a pit of ink, that the wide sea hath drops too few to wash her clean again, and salt too little, which may season give to her foul tainted flesh. All right, that is powerful enough by itself. But then Benedick, I love this right here. Benedick answers that with, Sir, be patient. For my part, I am so attired in wonder, I know not what to say. And just that phrase, that expression, I am attired, I am clothed in wonder, right? How beautiful is that? I mean, we don't talk like that anymore. I'm not even sure they really talked like that back then, but it's just exquisite writing. Let's see, and then just a few pages later here in my edition. So this is when Benedick and Beatrice are, you know, the whole kerfuffle has happened. You know, Claudio and Don Pedro storm off, and, you know, Hero has fainted, and we have this long exchange between Benedick and Beatrice. And Beatrice just has these wonderful lines in this passage here. Benedick tells her, come, bid me do anything for thee. And then she says, kill Claudio. She doesn't ask him to, right? This is a command. It's a demand. And it's powerful. I mean, it's really, really powerful. And in Kenneth Branagh's film, Emma Thompson really brings this off. But then she's Emma Thompson. And some of you, Brian Bookish, I'm looking at you. Some of you know what that means, right? Some of us are huge fans of Emma Thompson. And then on the very next page, right, again, this is Act 4, Scene 1. Beatrice says, oh God, that I were a man, I would eat his heart in the marketplace. So, yeah, I don't know about you, but that's a woman to be afraid of, right? If a woman Hannibal Lecter says, I would eat his heart in the marketplace, at that point, what you do is you hide the Chianti and you hide the fava beans, and you get the hell out of Dodge, is what you do. But yeah, it's just powerful, powerful writing. And then one more example of just really beautiful writing I wanted to share with you guys. This is Act 5, Scene 4, right near the end of the play, and Don Pedro says to Benedick, good morrow, Benedick, why? What's the matter that you have such a February face, so full of frost, of storm, and cloudiness? And just the idea of that, right? I mean, here we are. It's 98 degrees here in Casper today. This is a Saturday. Tuesday, okay? Tuesday, here in just literally 72 hours, The high is supposed to be, I think, 38 degrees, and the low is supposed to be 17 degrees. And we're expecting snow. So, I kind of have winter on the brain right now. And to describe someone's face as a February face, so full of frost, of storm and cloudiness, again, that's just beautiful. We don't speak like that anymore. And if they did in Shakespeare's time, which I don't think they did. I mean that's the thing, right? This is poetry, and even when poetry is fashionable, which it seemed to be then, and which it certainly is not now. People didn't speak in poetry. It was something that punctuated the art in their lives, and so punctuated their lives, which is part of what made it beautiful. So anyway, I just thought that was exquisite. Another thing I really loved about Much Ado About Nothing was how it seemed to be a kind of forerunner to The Winter's Tale, right? And this idea that we have a woman who is scorned or spurned owing to paranoia and sexual jealousy, and the man in her life, or in this case the man who would be in her life, is led to believe for a certain amount of time. And in this play, it's not long at all. It's just a couple of days. In The Winter's Tale, it's a very long time. But the man in the woman's life is led to believe that she is dead. And then there's a kind of a rebirth of her at the end. In The Winter's Tale, it is much more powerful. And what I love about looking at Much Ado About Nothing in relation to The Winter's Tale is seeing an early-ish play of Shakespeare's introducing and toying with themes and ideas that he will, in later plays, here The Winter's Tale, bring to a kind of thorny fruition, right? And it's powerful, I think, seeing an artist working through his own processes, working through his ideas, and identifying things that are good here, but that could be made great later. And that was a lot of fun for me to identify that, I suppose, because I had never thought about that in just seeing the film or seeing any of the stage productions. I'd never actually thought about the connection to The Winter's Tale that this play has until I read it. So on to the sexual subtext. Nothing in Elizabethan England was a euphemism for vagina. Okay, which means then that the title of the play can be said to mean, essentially like the ruckus surrounding what hero does or does not do with her genitals, which is, I suppose, slightly odd. But throughout the play, there are body puns and euphemisms all over the place. Let's see, on page 117, let me give you guys an act and scene here. So this is Act 5, right at the end of Scene 2. Benedict says to Beatrice, "I will live in thy heart, die in thy lap, and be buried in thy eyes." Right, so apparently at the time, die was a euphemism for orgasm, right, the little death. Right, so when he says that he will die in her lap, there's something sexual about that. There's something slightly humorous about that, even though it's not a funny scene at all. But on the page just prior to that, I mean, literally, like, I don't know, maybe fewer even than 24 lines prior to that, there was a sentence that I felt like there's something sexual going on in the sentence, but I had some difficulty figuring out what it is. And Benedict says, "If a man do not erect in this age his own tomb ere he dies, he shall live no longer in monument. Then the bell rings and the widow weeps." Right? So if we think of death as orgasm, right, the little death, then dies, right, before he dies, ere he dies, before he orgasms, right? And this idea, if a man do not erect in this age his own tomb ere he dies, He shall live no longer in monument, right? No longer in monument, in stone, in erection. Then the bell rings and the widow weeps. And I just can't make it out, right? I mean, it seems almost like it's a kind of a veiled allusion to or discussion of premature ejaculation or something like that, which is a little bit weird. But yeah, I mean, the play is so full of this kind of sexual kind of undertow that I think there's something to that. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy. But yeah, and then if we look at the word cunning, okay, which is used multiple times in the play. So let me go to, let's see, page 62. So we are looking at Act 2, the end of Scene 2. And this is where Don John and Borachio are kind of hatching their plan to ambush Hero, right? To essentially just slander Hero and pull the wool completely over the eyes of Don Pedro and Claudio. And Don John says, "Grow this to what adverse issue it can. I will put it in practice. Be cunning in the working this, and thy fee is 1,000 ducats. And Borachio says, "Be you constant in the accusation, and my cunning shall not shame me." And then Don John ends with, "I will presently go learn their day of marriage." So, cunning sounds almost identical to the word cunny, which is another euphemism for vagina. And according to the Oxford English Dictionary, has been in common usage, or began being in common usage, there at the end of the 16th century, which is when Much Ado About Nothing was written. So, the fact that these two words, cunning and cunny, sound so similar, like I said, almost identical, I think that we have to consider that Shakespeare was intending that word to be heard in another way. Because that's the thing, right? I mean, that's one of the things about Shakespeare is that the language itself is never just what it seems to be on the page. There's always so much more going on with it, right? There are double meanings and triple meanings. That's part of what makes Shakespeare Shakespeare. So if we look at this, right, again, that line of Borachio's, "Be you constant in the accusation, and my cunning shall not shame me." So we can look at that word, cunning, as a noun, right? Borachio's craftiness, his cunning, and then as a noun, which is a kind of vulgar stand-in for Margaret herself, right? He's referring to her as her genitalia, right? I mean, chalking her up to nothing more than that. And my cunning shall not shame me, right? So he is going to woo her in such a way that that she is not going to be able to resist, and the plan is going to be able to move forward just fine, right? Or as a verb, right? Borachio's sexual conquering of her, and my cunning shall not shame me, okay? I think it's wonderful that we can read that line in 3 different ways. And then if we look on page 89 in this edition, which is Act 4, Scene 1, and this is when the wedding is just unraveling. It's absolutely unraveling because Claudio has gone there with the intent to slander Hero and to ruin her, right? To disgrace her. And Claudio says, "Sweet prince, you learn me noble thankfulness. There, Leonardo, take her back again. Give not this rotten orange to your friend." To call a woman a rotten orange there at the altar, right? "She's but the sign and semblance of her honor. Behold how like a maid she blushes here. Oh, what authority and show of truth can cunning sin cover itself withal," right? So cunning sin means what it seems to mean. But then he's also, I mean, if we look at that word and read it as a kind of stand-in for that euphemism, cunning, he is painting her sin as sexual, right? Something that she can't escape from. It is part of her bodily, and that is, it's intense and it's cruel and it's brutal, especially because we know what's actually going on, and Claudio, because he's a fucking moron, has no idea. Yeah, so a couple other things. The play seems to me to be a cautionary tale, right, about the dangers of seeing what we've been led to expect to see. Okay, again, Claudio's an idiot, man. He's an idiot. Early in the play, he is led to believe that Don Pedro is wooing Hero on his own behalf, on Don Pedro's behalf, rather than on Claudio's behalf. And Claudio believes it. Like, he believes it. Why you would believe it, right? I mean, he's been traveling with this guy, Don Pedro, forever, right? I mean, he's essentially his best friend, this, that, and the other thing. And why Claudio should, I mean, that's maybe the one problem I actually have with the play, is that some of the characters, particularly Claudio, they're just too gullible, right? It's just not believable how gullible they are. And the fact that he falls for this, right, that he, again, is led to believe that Don Pedro doesn't have his best interests in mind, Claudio's best interests in mind, but that Don Pedro is wooing this young woman for himself. It's just ridiculous. It's just silly. And then later in the play, right, when this whole elaborate plan is kind of carried out by Don John, the fact that Claudio and Don Pedro both should be taken in by it, right? It's just, I mean, it's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Claudio is actually, when it's first proposed, when Don John first says, oh, no, she is not what you think she is, right? She's not this fresh daisy like you think she is. And if you come with me tonight, we'll go by her window, etc., etc. They should see that there's something rotten in this. For starters, Don John has just recently gotten back into the good graces of his brother. His reputation has just finally been recovered because he's an asshole. Don John is crooked and nasty and vile, and and all of them know this. Okay, and here comes Don John parading in with this information that seems too convenient. It seems calculated, but the fact that Claudio and Don Pedro don't recognize this is troubling. And Claudio, and this is on page 78 in my edition, this is Act 3, Scene 2, just at the end of Scene 2. Claudio says, if I see anything tonight, why I should not marry her. Tomorrow in the congregation where I should wed, there will I shame her. The fact that he is planning to do this, right, that he has no idea what he's going to see, okay? He has no idea how far to believe it, if it even comes about. The fact that he has this contingency plan of dragging her and her name through the mud at the altar, just in case, that makes him an asshole. Like I said, I mean, he is just a brass-plated douche canoe, in the words of Steve Donoghue. And then later in the play, right, Act 5, Scene 1, when Claudio and Don Pedro have learned the truth about what happened, okay? Now, they are under the impression right now that that Hero is dead. But they have learned the truth that they have been taken in, right? That Don John has, sort of left town. He's blown out of town because of what he's done, and he doesn't want to be punished for it, what have you. And they realize that they were wrong in accusing Hero of, let's say, ungentlewomanly conduct. The fact that Claudio says this, right? I mean, he's talking to her father, Leonardo. I know not how to pray your patience, yet I must speak. Choose your revenge yourself. Impose me to what penance your invention can lay upon my sin. Yet sinned I not, but in mistaking. The fact that Claudio is here saying, you can't lay this at my doorstep. Like, I was taken in. I mean, I was lied to just like everybody else. It's so cowardly. I mean, he's just a piece of work. I mean, I really wanted, so Benedict, challenges him essentially to a duel. And I really wanted Claudio to get his ass kicked by Benedict at the end of this thing. And I'd certainly like to have seen Hero, right, when they finally do get married at the very, very end of the play. I would love to have seen Hero tell Claudio, you know what, take a fucking hike. You suck. This is why you suck. You're a coward. You're a preening boy. You are not worth what what I can give you. So, but that doesn't happen. Of course, we need a happy ending here, and that would have been too much. But on the whole, I actually found this to be a more cynical play than I was expecting, and that actually comes quite a lot from Benedict and Beatrice. Shakespeare, I suppose, on some level wants us to believe that they really do fall in love with each other, but the fact that neither of them can declare love for each other or recognize love for the other person in themselves without first coming to believe that the other person loves them, it makes love the result of self-love, which is unappealing on some level, right? You know, and we get a taste of this there at the end, right? That they're recognizing this when they don't want to admit it, that they love each other, right? And unless they find out that the other person loved them first. There's just something really distasteful, I suppose, about that. And again, like I said, I mean, it feels cynical. This doesn't feel like a play that really believes in love. I mean, one doesn't get the sense that Claudio and Hero are going to live happily ever after, right? He is going to, you know, see her in the marketplace or something one day talking with the guy who sells corn or carrots, and yeah, he's going to read something into her behavior, into her body language, that's going to make him think that she is screwing the guy who sells corn and carrots, and then it's just going to get ugly and nasty from there. Yeah, a guy like Claudio doesn't change. So yeah, I mean, we don't get the sense that this is going to be happily ever after for them, and maybe not even for Beatrice and Benedict, actually. The final lines of the play see a messenger come in and say, "My lord, your brother John is taken in flight and brought with armed men back to Messina." And Benedict tells Don Pedro, "Think not on him till tomorrow. I'll devise thee brave punishments for him. Strike up pipers, dance, and then exeunt." And that's the end of the play. So the fact that the play is ending with a kind of looking forward to brutality and darkness and punishment, maybe that's Shakespeare reminding us on some level that while it seems to be ending with light, there's actually darkness in their midst as well. So that's Much Ado About Nothing. If you guys read the play with me this week, please let me know in the comments below what you thought, and I will see you again next Saturday for, I think, Cymbeline. Adios.